Ghanaian lawyer, and Dr. Ken Ashigbe, convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. And we'll be hearing more from them in just a moment. But first, some great news. In fact, let's complete our conversation with Dr. Ashigbe and Mr. Pebu, and then we'll come back to these. Now, Martin, if you don't mind, I'd like to come back to you. You've highlighted the ways in which the owners of this company, the directors of this company, are liable and really ought to be arrested at this point. I wonder what your thoughts are on, the general idea here. These 10 armed men who were able to drive in, grab journalists, kidnap them, drive them into the middle of the forest. What exactly are the lapses in our systems that have allowed for such a thing to happen? Do we have Martin Pebu on the line?
Okay, yes, Kojo. Yeah. Okay, I thought you were talking to another.
No, it was for you. Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't hear all of it.
I'm asking if you could elaborate for us the lapses in our system that would allow for such an event, for 10 armed men to be able to kidnap journalists, drive them into the forest and beat them up, and then refuse to cooperate with the police.
Well, so number one is the impunity. Impunity, you remember 2 years ago, we reported Chairman Wuntumi for Galamsey in the Kanonimri forest. Thankfully, it was the story, the documentary, with pictorial evidence. To date, IGP Dampare and Faustina Ndokufi have refused to move the case forward. So you see that once Wuntumi, a politically exposed person, has not been prosecuted, naturally, other persons with power will not be prosecuted, because from what Erastus told you, the guy mentioned that their government is in power. Their government is in power. So that's also indicating a lot of political connection. So once Wuntumi was not prosecuted, this is a signal of what? Impunity. So other like-minded and politically connected persons will not be prosecuted. So for me, it's about the prosecution of those we already have some evidence against. You remember the Frimpong Boakye report, also another example of impunity. They rubbished it. The Attorney General said there wasn't evidence. When there was clear evidence, there was a journalist, Seth Mante, who admitted taking money, etc. That journalist is not being prosecuted. The Frimpong Boakye report fingered Gabi Ochiridako, the president's cousin. He's not been prosecuted. So what do you expect? That it will, naturally, other connected persons would not be prosecuted. So for me, that's the first thing. And it also goes down to the independence of the police. So it tells you that the police are not independent. That's the main thing. If you see them not being able to prosecute open and shut cases like this, it tells you that it's about time we looked at the independence of the police. And so once again, we go back to constitutional review. Constitutional review, because we've made the police an appendage of the executive. So the president's command is what the police will do. And sometimes it's not even express words from the presidency or the executive, but just even the posturing. Because you see, the president went and sued the Koforidua and said Chairman Wuntumi was not mining in the Kanonimri forest at the time he was speaking. That was unnecessary. So you see, he was signaling to law enforcement people that, look, he's backing Chairman Wuntumi. Is there any wonder that Superintendent Inkum, that's the senior officer involved, charged with investigating the case, will not take any step? Is there any wonder that Faustina Ndokufi, a CID boss, would not want to prosecute the case? Dampare would not want to prosecute the case because of that signaling effect that the president gave, that Chairman Wuntumi was not mining in the Kanonimri forest at the time he was speaking. Okay, so for me, number one, number two, number three, I think impunity, that subculture of impunity and the police not being independent enough is what is causing this. Because if we were to tackle it from that angle, I'm sure by now we'll have better results. And of course, there's also the other side of it, which is the citizenry. You see, Kojo, we are now making some noise.
The call has been put on hold.
It's a little too late.
Hmm.
It's a little too late. We're supposed to rise in the early years, but you see, truth be told, even myself included, I was in love with Akufo-Addo. I was so angry that John Mahama was corrupt. So the first 4 years, things that Akufo-Addo did, I wasn't that particular. I was like, but Akufo-Addo, John Mahama did the same thing. So you see this equalization. It's better we confront the truth. Me, I remember my emotions at the time. I was like, but John Mahama did worse. Allow Akufo-Addo, he will come around. Allow Akufo-Addo, he will come around. So we contributed to this current state of affairs. We were not interested. By the time I was organizing Kumi Preko in November 2022, that was about 6 years down the line. Akufo-Addo came in 2017. First 4 years, I was still in love with him. That John Mahama did worse. John Mahama did worse. And then we allowed him. That's how a lot of us who voted for Akufo-Addo behaved. So the citizenry are also complicit in this matter. A lot of us who voted for Akufo-Addo didn't want to say anything against Akufo-Addo. We were so angry at John Mahama because he didn't govern well. And we thought, Akufo-Addo, he owes people. You know, he's been in opposition for 8 years, so they need money to pay their debts. He will come around. The governance will improve. And then 8 years down the line, we've turned out worse. That even Mahama's credentials, his figures are better. Press freedom, corruption perception index, the economy, and democracy index. All these ones, Mahama has fared better than Akufo-Addo. So I think the citizenry we must accept blame for what we've done. We've contributed to this. The leaders are a reflection of the citizens. Yes, I accept leadership is everything, right? Leadership is cause, right? But it's also true. We can't use only one principle. It's also true that the leaders are a reflection of the citizens. We say microcosm of the citizens, of the society. So we should also accept our blame. You see, Professor Ade came out strongly a few weeks ago when we started this new round of fight against Galamsey. Apart from Ade, how many other people have come up? But at least we know Ade was chairman of GRA, National Development Planning Commission. So this is somebody who has benefited from this government. Yet when he saw something wrong, he rose to the occasion to lead the charges. But there are still a lot of people over 70 years old. They call themselves statesmen in Ghana. Yet they don't see anything wrong. They don't want to come out. The Council of State, where are they on this? The Council of State, where are they? You see that at least Ade and a few others have come out. But the Council of State, they are loud silence. It's unpardonable. Penny Nifie. Can they step in that, look, this chairman won't me matter must go to court. Erastus is still alive. Well, I hope he lives to be over 100. He has the footages. You see Akunta mining vehicles. What evidence again does Dampari need? What evidence again does Faustina and the Kofi CID boss need? What evidence again does Superintendent Inkum? Then Godwin Ponyo, the other investigator. What else do they need? So you see the state capture. That the police service is been rendered an appendage. And meanwhile, when our heroes, Oliver Bakavomawo, Felicity Nelson, etc., go to demonstrate, then you get the court slamming them in for 2 weeks. You see it? You see what's happening? Come on.
I want to bring in Dr. Ken Ashigbe and focus on the implications of what has happened. A journalist who has been the source of most of our on-the-ground information about Galamsey has been kidnapped, beaten, his equipment seized, and abandoned in the middle of nowhere. The culprits have been invited by the police and they've refused to attend. To the average Ghanaian listening, what is the implication of this on the typical Ghanaian?
So the sad bit about it is that they do all of these things to ensure that they can perpetuate their illegality and their impunity. Thank God we have people like Erastus and the multimedia team, and things like this would not dissuade us. But what is required is the response of all of us as citizens for whom Erastus would and his team would risk their lives to try and protect us from this genocide and ecocide that is being perpetuated against us. What is required is what will be the response of the Minister for Interior, who has jurisdiction over the Ghana Police Service. What is the response of the IGP? What is the response of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, whose work is being supported by Erastus? And you see, this is the reason why we're talking about a state of emergency. Because if you had a state of emergency, this impudence, would not be happening. And so, all of us as citizens should show our revulsion to what it is that is happening. And you will be expecting that this morning, the state machinery would ensure that these, you call them suspected criminals, to the police station, and make sure that the maximum, the same way that those who went, demonstrating that the state thought that they had broken laws were kept in jail, and some of them even denied bail. These people by now should also be hauled into the police station and investigation begin. And the supposed 4 courts or 14 courts that we have, these people immediately be hauled into these courts and given the maximum sentence that the amendment of the Minerals and Mining Act has done. It is very important that we save ourselves from the disgrace. I don't know whether you listened to the story that was done on BBC about the future of Ghana. The disgrace that we are subjecting ourselves to in the international media. So we will be waiting and hoping that some work will be done. But we're not just going to be waiting. We are going to also take steps. We've asked the lawyers on the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey to help us with all the steps that we need to take. The sad bit, that yesterday, after Erastus and co have been, subjected to this terror, and you also had failed to arrest the people, when they were leaving the community, even providing them a police, escort out of the community. When Erastus went back to ask for that, they were denied it. For 45 minutes, they were still sitting there, and they had to travel that road alone back to Kumasi. So it is important that the police themselves note that when it comes to the media, the way they treat us, when they don't have the power of the state behind us, most of the time they will run back to us again, for support. So they need to take this into consideration when they are dealing, especially with the media, who carry, the burden of all of us when it comes to our freedom of information and our right, to free speech. So it is really very important that all of us, including, and I'm pretty sure the GJ would get involved with this, GIBA, would get involved with this, all well-meaning entities, including the GBA, and all of that, would ensure that the right thing is done so far as this is concerned. And beyond the criminal case that should be brought immediately, I will be urging, multimedia, that immediately we should start civil action as well to be able to recover all the assets that have been lost, to be able to ensure that we also get the compensation for Erastus and the four that have been involved in this. We cannot be allowing this. Things like this is going to affect our, when they start rating Ghana again in terms of freedom of expression. These are the things that make us retrogress. And it is really important that we also hear the Minister for Information that, people that they are supposed to be protecting, we should also be hearing the NMC. Most of the time they are quiet. When these things are happening, when journalists have been attacked, when the freedom to information, that are guaranteed for all of us under the Constitution are under attack. And that is the purpose for which the bodies like the NMC have been set up. And we should be hearing them trying to find ways in which they would ensure that Erastus and his colleagues, and please, it's important to also name them. These are champions that are championing our freedom of expression, the right that the Constitution gives to us, that these criminal minds, would want to take away. They all come in so that we can show an abhorrence that this cannot be accepted. The Ashanti regional minister, he cannot be quiet in this particular instance. It's the reason why they are there. And so it is really, really very important that we get a response from all of these channels and make sure that by the close of the day, these people who have refused, and we know that the police, When you are invited and you refuse, what do they do? And when they allow such impunity to happen, then what we will be doing to our country is declaring our country as being lawless.
I want to just quickly say that we have some extra information of what's been happening behind the scenes. Once the event occurred, Evans Mensah, who is the managing news editor here at Joy News, alerted the IGP personally. The IGP spoke to Erastus via Evans on a conference call. And following that, the police made efforts to deal with the issue. They went out to the mining site, but we are hearing that the number of men on the site sort of exceeded the number of police officers, and so there were no arrests on that occasion. But the police are working hard on this case, and we'll be hearing updates from them as the matter proceeds. I want to thank you both for your time. Martin Kpebu is a prominent Ghanaian lawyer. Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. We thank you both for your time.